He became the master of space and time, and he wore that hat and those aviator glasses, and he looked like a mean motherfucker. Then on my second night at the Troubadour, I'm sitting there playing Burn Down the Mission, really feeling really great about life, because I got a great review in the paper that day. And then suddenly I look to my right and see in the second row, Leon Russell. With the silver hair, the aviator glasses, and I went, oh shit. He's gonna see me at the end of the show, and he's gonna look at me and say, listen, this is how to play the piano. And I met him after the show, and not only was he sweet and kind, he gave me a recipe for my voice, which I still use to this day, and he asked me to do some dates with him. And listen, he was my idol. To meet him, I was shaking. For me, he sang, he wrote, and he played just how I wanted to do it. And for him to be so kind to me was an incredible, magnanimous gesture. So we went on the road, and we played in Tulsa, we played in Cleveland, we played at the Anaheim Convention Center, and we played at the Fillmore East in New York in 1970. And he introduced me to Bob Dylan, and I practically shit myself. I didn't know what to say. But, you know, Leon and I really didn't see each other much after then. I went one way in my career, and he went and did, you know, great albums and started his own record label, Shelter Records, with J.J. Cale and Freddie King and B.B. King and God knows how many other people. And he was a true creative and wonderful person. Only recently have I discovered how many people's records he played on. And I know Darlene Love read a hell of a lot of things out earlier, but Leon played on Bing Crosby, Johnny Mathis, Doris Day, Dean Martin, Herb Alpert, Frank Sinatra, Strangers in the Night. Da, 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 da. Remember that? The Ventures, the Everly Brothers, Del Shannon, Dwayne Eddy, Bobby V, Bobby Darin, Jan and Dean, Let There Be Drums, Sandy Nelson. That was Leon. Not on drums. The Fleetwoods, Come Softly to Me. That was Leon. Connie Francis, The Crystals, The Ronettes, every Phil Spector record. Gary Lewis and the Playboys, who he produced. Harper's Bazaar, Feeling Groovy, Bob Lind, Elusive Butterfly. The Byrds, Mr. Tambourine Man. Delaney and Bonnie, The Beach Boys, every Beach Boys record, including Pet Sounds. J.J. Cale, Harry Nilsson, Bob Dylan, Joe Cocker, Freddie King, and B.B. King, just to name some of them that he played on. I lost touch with Leon in the early 1970s. And it wasn't until 2008, and I still played his records all the time, and I was thinking, what's happened to Leon? But I never did anything about it, which I'm very remiss about. And in 2008, I did a show called Spectacle, which I produced with my partner, and Elvis Costello asked me to name 3 singer-songwriters that I thought had been neglected and forgotten about. And I named David Ackles, who was on Elektra Records, and what a pleasure it is to be in the same room as Jack Holtzman, who I've never met but admire so much. David Ackles, Laura Nyro, and Leon Russell. And Leon, bless his heart, was the only one who was still alive. And that music took me back to one of the greatest times of my life. As you get older, and I'm nearing my mid-60s, you have to take time to reminisce and think of all the great times you have. I'm not one for looking back too much, but looking forward. And I heard this music, and I sobbed, and I thought, I have to call this person up. He gave me such a wonderful start in my life. He meant so much to me, and I haven't talked to him for so long. So I called him, and I found a number. I got a number for him. I called him, and I said, what have you been doing? He said, I've been playing. I've been driving around in my bus, playing shows and stuff like that. And I said, oh, great. And we shot the breeze for about 5 or 6 minutes, put the phone down. I thought, no, that's not why I called him. So I got hold of T-Bone Burnett and said, listen, you've never heard from me before, but I've got a story to tell you. I just talked to Leon Russell. I have to make a record with this man. Would you do it? And he said, absolutely. I'm a huge Leon Russell fan. So I phoned Leon back, and I said, listen, you don't hear me for 38 years, and then you get 2 phone calls in 40 minutes. Would you like to do an album? And he said, sure. So to cut a long story short, last year in January, Leon and I embarked upon what was one of the greatest years of my life, both musically and personally, because I got to know the man that I never knew. I got to spend time with him in the studio. He was frail when he came in the studio. He had a 5.5-hour brain operation, but he still came to the studio every day and played his part and sang his part until he got stronger. And suddenly, with the love from the musicians in the studio and all the other peers that came to pay tribute to him, he became stronger. He began to remember things that he'd forgotten. I think he was so tuned out because he had been kind of forgotten. And I was incensed that someone who could write all those great songs like Superstar, This Masquerade, Delta Lady, and Song for You could have been forgotten about. Anyway, we made an album called The Union, and during that album, Leon came alive. And it was one of the greatest experiences of my life to actually be in a room playing with your idol, the master, I call him. And he was so great, and his chops were there, his singing was there, his piano playing has never gone away. And we went on the road. We had the greatest year of our life. And I said to him, there's one thing I want for you. I want people to acknowledge you for what you've done, to remember you for what you've written, what you've played on, and for you to be proud again of what you've done. And I want you to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And here we are a year later, and he's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And he's very laid back and very unassuming. At the end of the year, I phoned him up and said, Leon, it's been a great year. He said, yeah, I got a new bus. I said, you got a baby? I got a bus. And he has given me, during the last year, the most incredible musical experiences. And I've got to know and love someone who I treasured as a musician, treasured as an artist, who could eat me for breakfast when it comes to playing the piano, as could Mac Rebennack. But that's okay, because you aspire to greatness. And if you don't have anybody to measure greatness with, then you're never going to aspire to it, okay? An American legend, an American icon, Leon Russell.
All right, thank you very much. I'd like to get Mr. Leon Russell to do one by himself. It happens to be my favorite song.
Thank you very much. God bless each and every one of you. You know, just before I came on the stage tonight, a letter was handed to me that it brought a realization to me that I wanted to share with you this evening. And I've had the privilege of being out on this tour with Willie Nelson for some weeks now. It brings to mind all the wonderful things that this man has accomplished. It's what this letter refers to. It's from this wonderful young lady that said she'd come to the concert, and her mother had come to the concert. Brave conditions of ill health, so she could come down here and see this man, Willie Nelson. I want to thank God for Willie Nelson tonight. Bless your heart. And I'd like to sing this old song of mine for Kathy Beninati. I've been so many places in my life and time. I've sung a lot of songs, I've made some bad rhymes. I've acted out my life in stages with 10,000 people watching. But we're alone, and I'm singing this song to you. And I know your image of me is what I hope to be. I treated you unkindly, oh, can't you see? There's no one more important to me you please see through me? When we're alone and I'm singing this song for you, you taught me precious secrets of the truth withholding nothing. You came out in front and I was hiding. You ever done that? But now I'm so much better. And if these words don't come together, just listen to the melody, my love. Isn't the hiding? There's healing in music, folks. And I love you in a place where there's no space and time. And I love you for my life. You're a friend of mine. When my life is over, remember when we were together. Oh, we were alone. Oh, so all alone. We were alone, and I was singing this song. Thank you.